How a kid can get a baseball at a minor league ballpark every time he goes. Coming up next. Minor league ballparks are scattered all over the country, and chances are there's one not too far from where you live. We live near the Grand Rapids Whitecaps, a single-A full-season team, and have attended several times. When my son was quite young, he, of course, like every kid, wanted to get a baseball, but never seemed to be in the right place at the right time. Eventually, I just bought him a ball. And then, shortly after that, at the same game, he got his first baseball from the field. That cheap plastic ball I purchased didn't mean a thing to him any longer. After attending games for a couple of seasons, I came up with a plan to make sure he would get a ball every time we attended a game. And yes, I mean every time we went. Here is a plan I devised. The first year I set this in motion was the first year they put netting past the first base dugout. Also, the Whitecaps' home dugout was on the first base side. This netting would prove to be very helpful. Tickets to these games are very reasonable, so cost wasn't the issue. It was making sure to get the right seats every time. So in January, I contacted the offices and I purchased a 10-game season ticket packet for 2 seats. Location of seats is key, which is why getting them in January helped get us in the correct location. The next thing was to dress the part. After all, my son may not be the only kid in our seating area. What can he do to make him the one they reward with a ball? If you were a player, wouldn't you toss this kid a baseball? Once in these seats, it became a matter of checking the roster for that game and memorizing every player's first name, especially the first baseman. After all, who is the most likely person to be holding the game ball after the third out? Chances are good it will be the first baseman. If you are in a crowded and loud area, what is the one word you will hear? What is the one thing that a person can say that you will be certain to notice no matter what? It's your first name. Now imagine the first baseman, or any player for that matter, is running in with a baseball. Just before he looks for a person to toss the ball to, he hears his first name called, looks in that direction, and sees a young kid with tons of Whitecaps crap on. Yep, that's where the first ball goes. And yes, we got the first ball tossed into the crowd by the first baseman every game we attended. But it didn't end there. By the end of every single game we attended, he never came home with less than 3 baseballs. Yep, 3 every single game. Now, as the dad, when we got the first ball, everyone is really happy for him. Even most of the kids nearby. Wow, that kid is lucky. Actually, luck had nothing to do with it. But then he gets the second ball. And no, the first baseman didn't usually give him more than 1 ball in a single game. But sometimes outfielders or other infielders come in with the last out. And they didn't pay attention to who got a ball. So they, when they hear their first name called, throw the ball to the kid with the giant Whitecaps finger. When he got the second ball, the reaction is more like, wow, 2 balls to the same kid? What are the chances? But the mood is still positive. When he gets the third ball, I'm pretending to tie my shoe. Hearing grumblings and complaints and then kids from all over the park showing up and fill the empty seats nearby, it was uncomfortable. At least once, maybe twice, he got a 4th ball. And then I strongly encourage him to give it away before I get pelted with somebody's discarded food. The anger became clearly noticeable until he found someone to hand the ball over to. For 3 years this went on. Then he started to grow too big and didn't care as much. In those 3 years, he had over 50 baseballs he took home, all taking up space. Finally, one day, he told me, "Why don't you just put all these in our practice bucket?" Now they are all gone except this one he had signed by Crash, the local mascot. Now that my son is 15 years old, I figured I can share this secret with you on how to get a baseball from a minor league park for your son or daughter every time you go.